Hi there, I'm Nurse Practitioner Holly Boyd from Divinity MedSpa, and I'm here today to do an educational post. And I wanted to share with you some stuff that I recently learned at a conference that I went to last weekend. So the conference was done by a couple of plastic surgeons from Canada. And in Canada, the surgeons or the providers there, they tend to get products sooner than we do in the United States because we have such an intense FDA approval system here in the US. So they typically use these products a lot longer than we do, and they have more tips and more insight on how we can use these products. So I learned so much at the conference. I wanted to share a few things that I learned with you. One of the Canadian plastic surgeons is Dr. Swift, and he has studied at great length the work of Leonardo da Vinci. I always want to say DiCaprio, but it's Da Vinci. And Leonardo da Vinci did a lot of work on he studied beauty, and he discovered that in a perfectly proportioned face, that there should be a mathematical ratio of 1 to 1.618 throughout the face. And if you have this perfect ratio, then you're considered to have a beautiful face. And I think that the question for all of us is, what is perfection? What is beauty? What is harmony? What is balance in the face? And so I hear this question all the time with patients. And I think sometimes we make a mistake and we get a little too fixated on treating every single line on the face, because as we age, that's what we tend to notice. But sometimes it's recessions of the chin or volume loss in the cheek, or the distance in certain areas can change, and maybe it's more of a balance issue rather than loss of volume or wrinkles that are tending to show more signs of age on your face. So these were the calibers that I brought back from the conference, and this is the ratio of 1 to 1.618 on the both of the ends. And so I was really excited to get into the office and study what's considered a beautiful face, which wasn't really too hard to find here at Divinity because all of the girls here are gorgeous. And I wanted to see I wanted to measure the distance in a beautiful face like Lauren. So Lauren is actually our model today, and you look at Lauren and she's gorgeous, obviously, and she actually has a very symmetrical face. And it's hard to imagine that you could actually make her more attractive, but we might find differently, actually, Lauren. So Lauren was very gracious to let us study these principles on her. So whenever we're studying the face, we always want to look at the inner canthal distance first. So we already measured that. So her distance between so inner canthal is the distance between the two eyes. You can see this is her 1 ratio. So from here, the distance between the two brows should be exactly the same length. So you can see on her that she's actually a little bit short there. So her brows are a little too close together. So she's due for her Botox. We're gonna put a little Botox through there, which is gonna actually widen this space through here. And I think that's going to actually make her more attractive, which is hard to imagine, but it will. And then from there, we go down the face. So we look at the distance from the nose, which is perfect on her. The width of her nose is perfect. We look at the bulk volume of the lip. So most of the volume of the lip should also be within that 1 ratio. And then we look at the bulk volume of the chin. So she actually has aside from the brows, maybe just bringing them out just a bit, she has actually a very symmetrical face. We can then look from the medial aspect of the brow, which is right here, to the peak of the brow, which is again, if you imagine that she's just slightly, which is again perfect on Lauren. She has kind of the peak of her brow is perfect. Again, something to point out, this is not perfect. This is not the goal with Botox. So having a nice round arched brow is a perfect brow for a woman. So from there, we're gonna flip the calipers over, And from the peak of her brow to her hairline, she should be at that 1.618 ratio, which she is. From the inner canthal distance to her cheek. Now, we haven't talked about this, but the maximum point of light reflection, so the amount of light that you get on your cheek, on a woman should typically be in this lateral aspect of the cheek. You can see, I don't want to poke you in the eye, you can see on Lauren, she's right there, but she could use just a drop of enhancement, a little bit of volume right here in her cheek. And I think that she would see, it would actually make her more attractive. And then we look at the distance of her nose, so from the lash line to the nose, and believe it or not, we learned some techniques on how to tip the nose up slightly. There's some muscles that can be Botoxed that can kind of tip the nose if you tend to have more more of a downturning nose. And then we move and we measure the distance of the lips. So again, we're looking at in a Caucasian woman, you want to have a 1 to 1.618 ratio. So we're going to look at her lips. So this distance here of her lips should be at a perfect ratio, which you can see she's at. So her lips are perfect. Now, kind of a trend these days is actually to have more of a Kylie Jenner ratio. So her ratio kind of falls in line with more of an African American lip, which is a 1-to-1 ratio. And that can be very beautiful too. So, you know, it depends on the face. If you tend to have kind of a slimmer face or more of a heart-shaped face, you may not be able to pull off that 1-to-1 ratio. Again, it all has to be in balance and harmony. So that's my tip for today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.